Before starting, I think the center will give a presentation and then we will follow with commenting on it. This is the session on entrepreneurship ecosystem, and it's entitled "What does the Egyptian entrepreneur ecosystem look like?" I will switch between Arabic and English. Sorry for that. Okay, you can have the text in English, but I'll speak Arabic. This is the outline covering four main points. Most famous descriptions of an entrepreneurship ecosystem, classification of the organization supporting entrepreneurship in Egypt, main strengths and weaknesses of the Egyptian entrepreneur ecosystem, and key observations that reflect the quality of the ecosystem. The most famous definitions on entrepreneurship are issued by the GEM and the WEF. GEM and WEF dependent on main components in their own definitions, but GEM is more comprehensive, while WEF only depends on six components. Moving to GEM, they depend on financing, government policy, education and training, research and development, commercial and legal infrastructure, market openness, physical infrastructure, and culture and social norms. This is the most important classifications of entrepreneurship ecosystem that can be categorized into four main groups. This is not an exhaustive list. We have TIC affiliated to the Ministry of Communication, and we have Falak affiliated to the Ministry of Investment, and we have Mesmira affiliated to the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Now we move to the private sector. We have FLAT, Six Labs, Endeavor, Cairo, Angeles, among other private sector institutions. We have many incubators at universities. We have FEPS, Business Incubator. We have incubator at Asyut University. We have Heliopolis University for Sustainable Development. The fourth group is the NGOs. We have Nahdat al-Mahrousa and Qasr Masr al-Khair. We are trying to shed the light on the strengths and weaknesses in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Egypt according to the GEM and WEF reports on Egypt. We focused on 2010, 2012, 2015, 2016. When it comes to areas of strengths, we are focusing on physical infrastructure and internal market dynamics, culture, and social norms. Areas of weaknesses include education at school stage, R&D, government policies, taxes, and bureaucracy. Most important indicators have to do with the nine components of a GEM, including Egypt, and we score below the average except for the two elements. And if we compare 2010 to 2016, we can find that there is an improvement in all or most of the areas within these six elements that are downgraded: entrepreneurship, education at the school stage, and internal market dynamics. The three elements of strengths cover physical infrastructure, and here we means that startups have access to different services such as water, electricity, and can pay for these expenses. Also, internal market dynamics means that there are good opportunities for growing firms to join the business sector because there are many opportunities for producing product and services, but they witness a downward pattern. When it comes to culture and social norms, here we refer to risk taking, to individual initiatives, to innovation, because of course this leads to a better entrepreneurship. These components made a leap from 2010 to 2016. It jumped from 3.2 to 4.1 in 2016. Education is a factor of weakness, especially at the school stage, because the educational system is weak and entrepreneurship skills are not included in the school material or school curricula. We don't teach people the skills of risk taking, of innovation, of critical thinking. We also need to focus that entrepreneurship education is not there in the technical and vocational education. Also, research and development transfer, of course, since they're only starting, they do not have access to state of the art technologies compared to big firms and mega corporations, and they don't get enough support to make up for these lacks, so they are not able to invest in research and development. The third element of the weaknesses is the government policies. Entrepreneurs, just like businessmen, face many obstacles when it comes to taxes, bureaucracy, licensing. So many might prefer to stay in the informal sector. Last but not least, key observations that reflect the quality of the ecosystem. Just like Dr. Abla said, we mix between entrepreneurship and SMEs as concepts or definitions. They are used interchangeably, but they are different. Entrepreneurship focus more on ideation, on innovation, and we should deal with it differently than the way we deal with SMEs. And this is highly evident in the government initiatives and the programs that focus more on SMEs. But whenever they make an announcement, they refer to both entrepreneurship and SMEs. We have the CBE initiative with 200 billion, focusing more on SMEs, and they cannot focus on venture capital or angel investors. And also the Social Fund for Development transformed to be named Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency. But the agency still confuses these two concepts. They have a program for entrepreneurship, but this program needs much autonomy. The mentorship and support for ideation is crucial since it's the entry level or it's the first stage. So, this is absent in all of the government support. Venture capital is limited in Egypt despite its importance. And all these initiatives are relatively flimsy and need to be further developed. Egypt is a very young country, 60% of the population are youth. That's why we need specific initiatives for entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this thorough introduction. Most of the information in this report is go back to 2016 or 2017, and by the end of this month, we're going to issue the 2018 report with better figures which mirror a better environment, and next year's report is going to be even um, brighter. We have a very distinguished panelist today. Let's start. But before the introduction, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, not through their bio, but through their body of work. So, with all due respect, we're going to start with Gehane Sokkary. She is an African Development Bank expert. So if you could introduce yourself through the work of the ADB and through your own work of the past period, what would you say? Good morning. Thank you so much for this generous invite. I am very pleased to be here and share our experiences uh, regarding SMEs and entrepreneurship in Egypt and Africa. Once we heard about the ECES initiative about the access to entrepreneurship, we got really intrigued, and we are going to collaborate in the future, God willing. As is well known, Africa is not homogeneous, and entrepreneurship is not homogeneous either in the continent, depending on the region. Some countries are more advanced than others. This should be taken into consideration, which I think introduce myself. Okay, I okay I got drifted away. I'm sorry. I work at the ADB on social initiatives, including health and education, but also SMEs, entrepreneurship, and a little bit in North Africa. Thank you so much. Khaled was a CEO at Orascom and Vimpercom and Orascom Tourism now. But I think the reason that got him today here was entrepreneurship and the company that he started in '96. And it is one of the few corporations that reach the exit point. So can you talk about Taslim.net? Link started in '96 as service provider and was sold out. I'm sorry, was sold in 2010 or 2011 to Mobinil. So it has become part of Orange at 120 billion. A15 now is the largest fund created. We have revenues in billions, and after the exit was the first dragon exit. D-Bay works in Africa and managed to create revenues in hundreds of billions. So the ecosystem is not bad, as is said, but we're talking about revenues, and we have to balance the exit. So Link was owned by Orascom, and now it is owned by Mobinil. And what's even important than the exit? Those people who were working in Link started 16 different businesses. Khaled Ismail is the most accomplished researcher and has over 30 years in research, but he's not here because of the academic research he conducts. He's here because of Soft, which was one of the businesses established and sold to Intel, and now he is one of the most active investors. If you can introduce yourself through Soft. Soft started in late 2002, and it came out from a failure, actually. I was working in an American startup, and it failed to raise money, and it shut down. And before that, I started 6 different businesses. It's a well-known anecdote. In serial entrepreneurship, no one fails. You would be surprised to find out that we started the next day. Four from Leipzig started DSoft, and we started in Germany. It was the fastest thing. It was initially based on the skills in Egypt, engineering skills, and it created designs for wireless systems and what we call protocol stack. So it is the software that enables the whole system to interlink. So we worked on Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 1, Bluetooth 1, 2, WiMAX, and we ended up with 130 engineers, all based in Egypt. And at that point, we focused on mass technology, which was the 4G. In 2008, when we started on working on 4G, it was still an idea. We still have 2 or 2.5 years, and we have to go to the World Congress in 2010 to show people that the 4G works with our engineers and our protocol stack. Without bragging, was the best in the world. In 2010, I wrote a protocol stack. 4G, you'll find, if you enter it on Google, you will find 4D soft on average. Without even typing, I just type protocols stack 4G. So the company managed to carve out its own position, and it was the biggest IT makers. And then we were bought out. The engineers did a great job. I managed to create the right ecosystem. But the Egyptian, when you have an Egyptian good engineers, they work miracles. Uh, but I'm going to emphasize the word good. Because if they are good, if you have a good engineer in Egypt, the resourcefulness of Egyptian engineers is very high. They never get stuck. And without bias, I have worked with 4,000 Intel engineers in India. They're very diligent, they are amazing, but if you compare the resourcefulness of the Egyptian to the Indian engineers, there is no comparison whatsoever without bias. So the whole idea was to establish the point that technology could be made outside of Israel, US, and Europe. Technology could be made wherever good engineers are. It could be done with minimal finance by engineer Naguib Sawiris. He was a partner, but he was a very gentle partner. He did not give us a hard time. Even when we discussed the exit, he told me we're going to be profitable, and I said yes. But his support was of immense significance, and the rest was a give back. And I started investing in the youth who would take up the work. Up until now, I invested in 20 startups in Egypt, and we are working on their growth with the same methodology, not necessarily on technology, although it is close to my heart. But with time, I managed to spot other problems out of the technology field. Flat Six Labs was one of the first incubators, business incubators in Egypt, and it has the largest presence on the ground. So if you can recount your own experience. Good morning. It's an honor to be on such a panel. The Flatix Labs was one of the first accelerator in Egypt, and we provide also the seed funding. We have two cycles a year. Every cycle graduates 10 corporations, 20 overall along 1 year. We provide technical and financial support over 4 months. We train the startups and we connect them with five mentors, either from Egypt or abroad. They give them their own expertise and they put them on the right track. And we also help these startups legally. We provide the legal assistance, and if they wanted to review to have their contract reviewed, or also providing the co-working space during the program, and for 1 year after, 1 month after. So we help the entrepreneurship during the first stages. Since there is no AUC, Venture Lab, represented here on the panel. I'm going to play that role. It works similarly to Flat Six Labs. We are a university incubators. We do not take equity for startups, but we provide the support that they need for growth. Over the past 5 years, AUC Venture Lab, we supported 150 startups. 80% are still up and running. 48% have managed to get finance, and the total funds amount to 120 millions, and we expected to exceed the half a million mark. Let's start the discussion. Start with Khaled Ismail, since you invest in different startups and you are very close to the ground. So what are the things that incubators look for? What are the things that startups are looking for? We've been talking about talent, engineering. We're talking about government policies. So these are the domains. If, but based on your experiences, there are things that the entrepreneurship want in order to expand and grow. What are these things? There is plenty. The priority now, based on the actual market, we do not say this in public. The talent tool is beyond. The talent pool is beyond us. It has become a problem to get a good developer, because the Egyptian market has become a part of the global market, and if you do the math, you'll find the good ones are moving out or going to Europe or get paid in dollars. Europe is in lack of engineering force. Even the States, developer in the States, 25, they get paid higher than the PhD holder, 5 times fold. So the whole world is standing behind really good trained developers. In Egypt, it is more challenging. Now, AI and virtual and VR are trends now, but how many of those understand data science and analytics in order to be able to work in AI? It's very few numbers. So this few numbers is going to be co-opted by Germany. Germany particularly because most of the people who worked in my company worked in Germany, and it has been accepting people every single year. So the most important issue with the startup is attracting the talent without having the money. I think this comes first because it is the talent that forms the base, and technology. And also, secondly, understanding the global technology landscape. To understand it, that would be fitting. We have It took us 3 months in order to decide to work on 4G. In 2008, we have studied the market thoroughly. And we also looked for the most recent show Congress, so that we can showcase, because the technology market is very competitive. In order to understand your competitors, if you work in isolation on technology, you can do it, but by the time you try to sell it, you would be behind the curve. It would be completely obsolete. The chances are it won't work. So if the young people manage to find these or solve these two obstacles, that would be great. I heard that there are 400 or 450 developers graduate from Egypt every year. So this creates a need for an industry. Khaled, you worked with a lot of startups, but you also worked on the scalability stage, how to take a business that is working and running well, which has a presence, and to take it globally or regionally. So how can we scale the businesses in Egypt? We're talking here about exponential growth. Well, the soft option or the soft solution is to support them. When they chose as the first 10 best 10 fintech in Egypt, our two companies were not selected. They said that our criteria was raising funds. So if you want the business to scale and they want to make the list, so it is more important for them to raise the funds. So we're talking about raising and the fun part of startups. So they need to make money, they need to grow.
So whenever you sit with someone, they will tell you, I raised this amount of money 2 weeks ago, and now I'm raising another amount of money. So this is like the talk of the hour now, and this is the problem in my own point of view. Second problem is that there is multiple funding, and we confuse between SMEs and entrepreneurs. When we started, we did not have incubators. Now we have many incubators, and there is also seed funding. But moving from incubators and seed funding, there is a gap because this is either too slow or too big, and this is a very big issue because we start with investing 10,000 or 20,000, or you want to invest 2 million, but what about those in between? So, and we try to follow the market sentiments or the market trends. But I agree today with Khaled that funds are available, but we need a seed exceeding A and B stage because there is a gap there. So yes, $100,000 tickets is the gap. Yes, we took companies all the way, but you need to help them and you need to go on with working. Whenever you are a meeting, people would focus on investing in a number of companies this amount without the revenues, without the quality. Other thing is that the founders shouldn't be greedy. They are for developers to go to Germany, they will get 40,000, but here I can give them more shares from the equity. And that's what happened with the TPay when the exit happened. They had 8 or 10%, but I made, or they made more money. So this is better than what other founders made. They had 85% of the equity, but when they came to sell the company, they did not make money. We also need to say that the government is really interested in improving the ecosystem, but the legal structure in Egypt is not helpful. So most of the investors want to invest, but they go to establish somewhere else in order to facilitate the procedures to exit, to make sure that the share holding agreement is easier. So all the legal structure is hindering. So that would be the 4 points we want to work on.